Hello, PNW families, and welcome back to our monthly caregiver training. Based on the survey results, for those of you who have participated, thank you so much. There's a lot of questions about wanting to know like the big picture. So, what happens after ABA? How do you continue progress? And I think the place to start that conversation is to talk about the importance of generalization and maintenance. So, let's get started. So, what happens after ABA? This is a big question, and there's lots of components to it, but I think we need to start with how do we generalize progress and how do we maintain progress that's made during ABA sessions. And so, in order to prevent regression in skill development once your child graduates from ABA, we have to ensure that the child can generalize these skills and maintain them in other environments such as home, school, and the community. It takes all of us in order to have successful generalization and maintenance. They have to be generalizing these skills across multiple people in multiple environments for us to really say that they are ready to graduate. And in order for us to achieve that, we need parent involvement. It takes all of us. So I think it's important to throw it out there that ABA is not magic. Believe it or not, we don't have magic wands. So just having them here at ABA during session, especially if they have clinic sessions or sessions outside of the home, we can't just do things during session and then have those same skills not being worked on outside of session and expect them to generalize that progress. It just doesn't work that way. So if you guys are not active participants in their child's therapy process, then unfortunately regression is pretty much inevitable and generalization is unable to be achieved, which is, I know, what none of us want. So, how do we become an active participant? What does it mean to be an active participant in your child's therapy? I think if you can ask yourself these questions, this is a good place to start kind of doing a little bit of a self-evaluation process. Do you know your child's behavior plan? Do you know how, we want you responding to those maladaptive behaviors, the behaviors we want to decrease? And do you know what strategies we're using beforehand, those antecedent strategies, so that we prevent those behaviors from occurring in the first place? It's important to know those things. How can we generalize your child's behavioral success if you aren't aware of how we do that at the clinic? So make sure you know that. Do you implement your child's behavior plan at home, when you're in the grocery store, when you're at drop-off, at school, etc.? That's how we're going to generalize across environments. Are you an advocate to include ABA in your child's IEP meetings if they have behavioral difficulties at school? This is kind of a tricky one. It's really dependent on district and building placement and a lot of other factors, but most of the time, more often than not, you guys have to advocate to have your BCBA attend your child's IEP meeting. Very rarely are we ever reached out to by the school to come in to those meetings. So if your child is struggling at school behaviorally and you think that we could be a benefit or of help to them, you have to start that conversation with school and kind of get that collaboration rolling. We have to have a letter or a disclosure authorization form signed so that we can talk to your child's school about them. And I know that they need it on the school's end. So it really starts with you guys. Are you using reinforcement at home to increase the replacement behaviors that ABA is teaching them? So do you know what we're trying to increase, what behaviors we're trying to increase and get them to do more often? It's important to know that so that if it happens at home, you can reinforce that. Otherwise, again, generalizing across people and settings is going to be really challenging. Do you meet with your BCBA regularly? Do you know what's going on? Do you know the challenges right now? Do you know the successes? It's important to check in. Do you actively participate in caregiver training? In order to make sure that you're following the behavior plan and that you're understanding the reinforcement system, it's really important that you're involved in caregiver training and that you're continuing to educate yourself on how to respond and use our caregiver resources. And you're already doing that right now if you're watching this video, so kudos to you. If the answer is no to some of those questions, that's okay. That's okay. Life is overwhelming. Everyone's got their own busy plates. But let's start working towards becoming an active participant now. To start, I think it's best to just simply email your child's BCBA. I know it would make their day to hear from you and help you get started with becoming an active participant. It makes my day when a family reaches out to me and wants my help or wants to get involved. That means the world to us, because it means you guys are invested and you really want to make sure that your child is going to be ready to graduate when that time comes. So if for some reason you don't have your BCBA's contact information, no worries, just email me at jalen@pacificnorthwestautism.com and I'll make sure that I get you connected with them. Generalization. This is a change that proves durable over time if it appears in a wide variety of possible environments or if it spreads to a wide variety of related behaviors. So this is how, if your child's working on replacing aggression to get attention with saying, excuse me, making sure that you're reinforcing that excuse me at home. That would be setting generalization. Or making sure that you are following through with that behavior plan, not just at home, but in the car, at drop off at school, at the grocery store, all of those places, so that they'll be able to do those things successfully as well, instead of just being able to have their behavior under control only within, the four walls of the clinic and the four walls of your home. So setting generalization is generalizing across multiple locations. Response generalization, we'll get into that in more detail later, but that's being able to have multiple responses that are equivalent to each other. And stimulus generalization is being able to elicit that behavior when things are phrased in multiple different ways. So setting generalization. This is, again, when the behavior occurs across multiple environments, and it is also when the behavior occurs across multiple people. That means that, if, there's two parents in your household or there's multiple caregivers involved in your child's life, we have to get all of them on board. Everyone needs to be responding the same way. Everyone is responsible for knowing the behavior plan. Otherwise, we're going to get into a situation where only, mom has instructional control or only grandma has instructional control. And we don't want that. We want everyone to have instructional control in those situations. So how do we achieve setting generalization? Honestly, it basically boils down to consistency. If you can take one thing from this, it's we have to be consistent across environment and across people. We do that by training caregivers, teachers, other service providers. We've had, occupational therapists, speech pathologists reach out to us and want a child's behavior plan. Home services, I think the best way to achieve success is to have a combination of home and clinic services. That's so it helps start the generalization process early. Home observations are great. We can come in and observe what's going on at home and then train you guys on a behavior plan to help generalize to home. Community outings, when COVID allows, of course. Times are a little weird right now, but before COVID, it wouldn't be unusual to see us, with a client at a park or with a client to work on social skills or with a client at a restaurant practicing how to count change and order something off of a menu so that they can generalize their communication skills, their socialization skills that they've been working on to other settings outside of the clinic or home. School observations, we're always willing to go observe in a classroom and then train the teachers and paras on how to appropriately manage that behavior. And all of these things matter in order to create consistency across people and settings. Response generalization. This is when the child can elicit a behavior that is functionally equal to the behavior that was taught. So, for example, when your child was taught greetings, we might have started by teaching them to say hi, but now they are able to say hello, hey, and other forms of hi. Another example is at ABA, your child has been working on learning how to zip their coat, and now they can independently also zip up their backpack without having to be directly taught. So by teaching them how to zip, they can now zip multiple things. And by teaching them how to say hi, they can now greet others in multiple ways without us having to directly teach each different response. And that's what we call response generalization. Stimulus generalization, this is when the child will emit the behavior for similar but different stimuli. For example, when asked to hang up coat by his teacher, Tommy is able to successfully hang up his coat on the hook. When Tommy is asked to put coat away by the substitute teacher, Tommy is still able to successfully hang up his coat on the hook. So by phrasing things differently, Tommy is still able to successfully emit that behavior, even though they weren't the exact same sentence. And that's the importance of stimulus generalization, is we need to make sure that the sentence that we are delivering is not the only thing controlling that behavior. We need to make sure that it's more naturalistic than that. So stimulus generalization is very important. Maintenance. This is once a child has mastered learning a skill. It's important to still practice that skill to make sure that the skill is maintained and not forgotten over time. It's really common with kids on the spectrum to struggle with maintaining learned skills. I think pretty much all of our clients at the clinic that we work with have maintenance data sheets that are ran of various amounts of maybe per week, per month, just to make sure that they're still getting practice with that skill, because practice makes perfect, and it takes them sometimes a really long time to learn that skill, and it would suck to have them lose it because we didn't practice it afterwards. So for example, your child has recently mastered zipping up their coat. A week or so goes by and you've been so busy, it's just been a crazy week, so it's just been easier for you to just zip it up for her and get out the door. No big deal, right? She already knows how to do it. It's fine. It just makes life easier. Things slow down the next week, and one morning you ask her to zip up her coat, and she's unable to do so independently anymore. We have to practice, practice, practice. Practice really does make perfect, and it helps it get into their long-term memory bank. Maintenance is extremely important, and for some kids, they might need maintenance ran more often than others. It's really variant and depends on the kid. Don't wait. It is important that you are working toward generalization and maintenance of what your child is learning during sessions throughout your child's ABA services. Don't wait until they are being consistently successful at the clinic and near graduation to start implementing these things at home or in other settings. It's important that we are all working on the same things at the same time and being a team. That really speeds up the process for generalization and maintenance. And progress just happens so much faster when we are all working on the same skills and reinforcing the same behaviors and responding to things in the same way. If we wait until things are mastered at the clinic and they're doing great and they're ready to graduate, and you're just now starting to get involved and like try and implement the same thing at home, it's almost too little too late, because they're doing great during session, and insurance is going to say, well, they're doing great, why do they need to keep coming? So don't wait, get involved now. Progress will happen faster. Generalization and maintenance will happen faster. And if things are difficult at home, don't wait to reach out. Let us know right away that, hey, we're really struggling with bedtime routine, or hey, I cannot get him to brush his teeth to save my life. Like we love when families come to us for things like that. We love to problem solve, and we want to help. We want things to be smooth. There's nothing more frustrating, I think, than putting so much effort and love and care into this kiddo's success, and then have them do so well, but then hear, that they're still struggling at home or at school. And we can't help if you don't reach out to us. So let us know, let your BCBA know, and they will be happy to help make a plan with you. We are always happy to help. And don't forget, you are the most important part of your child's therapy team. Caregivers, you guys are the most important part. You are the one that is with them the most. You have the most opportunities to reinforce their behavior. You are your child's best advocate. You know them best. So you matter. And it's important that you're involved because you're the most important part of our team. Behind every young child who believes in themselves is a parent who believed in them first. I love that quote. So reach out to your BCBAs. Do that little self-evaluation. Are you currently an active participant in your child's therapy? And if those answers are no, that's okay. Let's change that. We look forward to hearing from you guys. See you next month.